Good morning, Godspeed. It's your boy Elliot Carter on the line with my OG Ed. We're reporting live from the gutter. Ed got some serious stuff to talk about today, so let's get into it. Introduce yourself, Ed.
Yeah, my name, everybody call me Ed. My name's Edward Harrison. I'm here with the good brother, so I can make it happen and let it be known, that the judicial system out there in Richmond County, they just like any other county. They falsely convict people, and they know it, and they don't feel like, they should have to overturn a case or any cases that they falsely accuse somebody of.
I agree. Staten Island specifically is the most corrupt borough when it comes to police in New York.
Exactly. And a real, how would you say it? Like, it's a real conservative borough.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
a lot of judges, lawyers, police officers, they live out there, so they actually feel they can do what they want to do with no consequences. They won't.
No repercussions.
Exactly. Just like, and they have their Staten Island advance that covers for them.
Absolutely.
They'll put in what we done, but they won't say, what the judicial system done, what the police department has done,
or any of the errors made by the system. They always target our young black men. That's a fact. Exactly. I agree with you.
That's a fact.
So let's get into what was your wrongful conviction for?
My wrongful conviction, it started out as a rape in the second degree. But as I was going on and challenging it and going through my hearings, they broke it down to the lesser included offense of the indictment. It was an indictment of 2 accounts. And one was rape in the second degree. They tried to fancify it by saying it was like, it's a nonviolent, just take the cop out. I wasn't taking that because I didn't do anything. So they broke it down to sexual misconduct, under the penal law 130.20, subdivision 1. So, and to this day, because when people ask me, how did they pick you out of everybody? And that's a question I still can't even answer.
Well, let's get into what the situation was so the viewers can understand. So they're saying, they started off by saying it was second degree rape?
Yes.
All right. So what was the actual incident that occurred where they said you allegedly raped a woman?
Well, they were saying that some female, she was schizophrenic, drug addict, self-mutilator, and they were stating that she said she was raped, and I don't know how, I don't know where. Then it was a lot of stuff with it, but I know, like the lawyer that I had at the time, somebody said he passed away, Gregory Clark. He said if it would have been a black female or even in a different borough, he said it wouldn't even have went past the precinct. So, the rape conviction, once it was like going through the hearings, because I was taking it to trial, they broke it down as sexual misconduct.
And why did they do that?
Because they didn't want to, because they know they couldn't. Like when you go to trial, I don't know if people's familiar with it. When you go to trial, the complainant, they must come to trial. The only reason that they don't come to trial if it's, they're deceased, they're impaired, or they're a minor. And then they pretty much have to go through certain channels if they're a minor. But once they realized I was taking it all away, they broke it down as sexual misconduct.
And you copped out to that?
Not with the trial.
Oh, and you blew?
Because it's still on the indictment. It's still part of the indictment. Even though, like, some people think because, like, on indictment, you have certain accounts. You have certain counts on the indictment. So your lowest account might be a misdemeanor, but you're still under indictment.
Yeah, I get it.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, once you indict it, that's what it is. So you might have count 1, count 2, count 3, so on and so forth. Mine was just a 2-account indictment. Rape in the second degree and sexual misconduct. Once they dismissed the rape, they must have thought
You was going to just cop out and not take it to trial.
Right. So I did my hearings. I went through that, and Mr. Clark had told me, he said, listen, we got him. I waited. It came back. I didn't have him. But that's because I was like pretty much the fall guy for this person that they allegedly said was raped.
Who was this person? What's this female's name? Because if she's making false allegations, I think the world should know who she is and be aware of her.
Yeah, they said her name is Sarah Warner.
So you've never had any encounters with Sarah Warner?
I don't even know her.
So how did you get picked to be the fall guy?
And that's what I'm trying to find out to this day. You know, how did she pick me?
I remember when we first spoke about this, I think you said, if I'm not mistaken, you was actually incarcerated during the time that the incident occurred.
Exactly. I was on a parole violation when the detectives came to see me. And that's how I started, like, as time went on, I started finding out that this complainant, you know, was schizophrenic, self-mutilator, drug addict. Also, you know, it came out that the complainant, Sarah Warner, you know, she recanted her statement. She said that because she was saying that they wouldn't let her go out and smoke by the paperwork. It's saying that they didn't let her go out and smoke a cigarette. I guess she was in a program called Chat House, and being they didn't let her go out and smoke, I guess she just left. And they said they found her wandering, and she was like drunk or high or whatever the case may be. And then in the DD5 files, they were showing how she was cursing them out. Oh, I don't want to deal with you people. Fuck out of here, this, that, and the third. And then the last DD5, I guess they put on her medications, whatever the case may be, and then they did it again. I'm just going by what the lawyer was telling me at that point. So then it come to find out, in the paperwork that I have, and I had sent it to you, where she said, oh, I was never raped. I lied and I devised a story of being raped because she thought she was going to lose her bed at the chat house she was at. I guess it's like a drug program or people that deal with like, have like schizophrenic, whatever. And I did my research on schizophrenia. Schizophrenia doesn't mean like a person is like fully crazy. What it is, they compile stories.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, when they try to say that, oh, she was schizophrenic, this and that, like, even if she was under the influence of drugs, that's when I had started doing a lot of research on it. When a person is under the influence of drugs or anything of that nature, and if you have sex with them, technically it's not consensual.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm telling, you know, I started like explaining to people that, you know, if you suppose you don't even know this person and they come up with a story like that, like how do you counter that?
Yeah.
Then on top of that, they try to say that, oh, we got to do DNA. This was all like in the beginning of the case. But as I got an attorney, and the attorney found out that the district attorney's office, not a lab, but their office, held somebody's DNA, or they held DNA that they allegedly stated was mine, but they held it for a year. How do you, you know, it was something similar to like the Grant Williams case.
Yeah.
When they were saying they had a hat with DNA, come to find out they had no hat. Or if they did have a hat, the DNA was tainted. Once you keep it in your office, it's tainted now. So whose DNA is it?
Yeah. My whole thing is this. If you could clearly establish that you was incarcerated during the time of the incident, how come you can't get it overturned? Because obviously you weren't even in the vicinity of her when the incident occurred. And then second, I want to know, was there a rape kit?
Right. That's what I'm trying to. They're saying that they sent it to the lab after a year. But if I'm already locked up, I'm upstate. It's a case called Singer, right? People versus Singer. They charged the guy, in his case, it was a murder. He was already upstate. As he was getting ready to come home, they come to pick him up. So, and they said it was a sealed indictment. That was same or similar to mine. Mine was just a sex offender case. So that being said, they violated. It's considered. Also, it was proof that when the detectives came to see me when I was upstate, there was no audio, no video, there was nothing. It was a statement that was supposed to have been produced. Well, it was produced, but then when Gregory Clark started questioning the detective, Anthony Maria, that he actually stated in the hearing, because I had my Wade and Huntley hearing, he wrote the statement.
He wrote the statement?
Absolutely. And he actually stated, like, when some of the paperwork I sent you, it's in there, and Mr. Clark was questioning him on it, like, what do you mean you wrote the statement? You mean to tell me you had the man in the room, you had him in there for like an hour or 2 hours, and you only wrote a half a page? Also, he stated that when they asked him, like, make a description of me, he said I was like 5'10", 220 pounds. I'm 5'6". You understand what I'm saying, Dan?
Yeah. And how much did you weigh at the time?
At that time, I was only like 205.
Yeah, so that was just completely off.
Right. And he also...
Did he provide a description, like light skin?
That was the description. He didn't even go into all of that. Like, he said, I was 5'10", 210 pounds. I was light-skinned. I'm not light-skinned.
Yeah.
You understand? He also admitted that he initialed my Miranda warnings. And see, all this was done, like, post the Central Park 5 case. So now, you were supposed to follow a certain protocol.
And that protocol wasn't followed.
It wasn't even followed. Also, from the gate, like I stated, the complainant stated that she lied. I have 5 different DD5 files, right? It was 5 different statements that was made. The last statement is when they put on a medication, whatever the case, and she admitted that she lied. So my thing is, how did you, Staten Island is so corrupted with all of that, how did you even get an indictment? And then when you look at, because they said she kicked me out in the photo red, but now when you go through all the paperwork prior to the indictment, it's saying unknown, unknown, unknown. So you don't know who it is. If the person is unknown, how did she pick me out in the photo red? I wasn't even on the scene. I was on a parole violation.
Yeah, and what were you on a parole violation for?
I was on a parole violation because at that time, they was violating people for using drugs and this and that, and I had caught a misdemeanor for a misdemeanor assault on what's her name? They used to live in not West Brighton, Stapleton. Her name is Janisa.
Okay.
I don't know her last name, but what happened prior to that, she had spit some food on me. So when I seen her, I slapped her for spitting on me. And it was a misdemeanor. It was a misdemeanor assault. So I was they gave me 9 months for a misdemeanor assault. And at that time, like I stated, they was violating dudes for that. So after I did my 9 months, I did 6 months out of the 9, they sent me upstate.
For a violation?
Right, for a parole violation, and being that I had a violent crime, I was category 1. So I had 18 months.
On top of the 6 you just did?
Exactly. So I was gone for like 24 months. And then when they brought me back down for the case to fight the case, I laid up like 11 more months.
Yeah, that's crazy. So how long were you incarcerated for before they actually brought you down and alleged that you raped this woman?
The 24th, I was locked up like 23 and a half months.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it was like the day I was supposed to get parole to come home, what they did, they had packed me up like maybe like 3-4 days prior to that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going down to Lincoln or Edgecombe or one of them spots. Because they was open at that time. They brought me to Ulster County, put me in a box. You know, they had me in a SHU instead of general population. Put me there. The date of my release was, I think it was a Monday it was a matter of fact, it was a Tuesday because that Monday was a holiday. They brought me back down and I was like, what's this? This is the breaking of the seal of an indictment, you know. And I was like, about what? And they was like, well, you've been accused of rape in the second degree. And I was like, what? So the first lawyer that they gave me, she kept saying, I don't even remember her name. She kept saying, oh, just take the cop out. It's nothing. It's like, it's my first day in court. I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh, they want to offer you 1.5 to 3. Just take it. And I was like, no, I'm not taking nothing. Next time I went to court, I had Gregory Clark.
Yeah, that's the right thing. When you have a lawyer like that you don't even know, and the first thing they're telling you to do is take the cop out or take whatever the DA is offering you. My advice to everybody listening: fire them.
Exactly. Because we should be treated as if we was like
as if you
police
were
officer or anybody else. Let me go to my preliminary hearings. You had due diligence. See, it's a thing, it's called due diligence.
Yeah.
Well, I've been arrested. I got a NICET number. So for you to put a sealed indictment, pretty much you saying you don't know where I'm at. You don't know my whereabouts. But then you send 2 detectives to come talk to me all the way upstate. So you know my whereabouts. And as I stated, I'm in the system. I have a NICET number. I'm not saying I have a halo over my head. You know what I mean? Because like I tell people at that time, I'm a robber. You know what I'm saying? I ain't no rapist. I ain't no burglar. I'm none of that. I'm a robber. Well, I was, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
since I've been home, back in the days, that's what I did. So to be accused of something like this, and Richmond County, like the lawyer I have, she's a good lawyer, but it's like she doesn't want to rock the boat because you know how Staten Island is.
So the one that told you should just take the cop out?
No, my lawyer I have now.
Okay.
I have a lawyer now, and she submitted under the conviction investigative unit. They don't call it the conviction review unit or Staten Island. It's called the conviction investigative unit, and they have the case. They've been holding that case for 2 years. All the evidence that's stacked against them, they've been holding it for 2 years, and for the last 10 months, they've been telling my lawyer, because when I call, I try to call her like every other month or once a month to see what's going on, and she's saying, well, the ADA on it is stating that they're still going through the grand jury minutes. So I'm saying, like, how do you go through something for 10 months?
Yeah.
Like, that's a stall tactic.
It is.
I want people to know that, Richmond County, like, they only, because I looked it up, I did my research, only one person that the conviction investigative unit overturned a case, and that was Grant Williams.
And how many years has that department been active?
Since 2019. They stayed on paper when I looked it up through Google. Theirs started in 2019.
Now, and how many cases did they process for only one case? No, you said one case was overturned, but how many cases actually went through that department that they processed that weren't overturned?
Per Google, that I looked it up, it stated that it was only that one case. Grant Williams.
No, yeah, I get what you're saying. You're saying that Grant Williams was the only case overturned. I'm asking how many cases weren't, how many cases failed to get overturned.
They're saying that that was the only case.
Yeah.
It's been not only it's been overturned, it's the only case that they reviewed.
Oh, okay. So they're just inactive. They're not doing shit.
Right. And then they saying that on one, like when I was going through it, they saying that at one time the new district attorney, which is Michael McMahon, he was stating something about, they didn't have the funds. And then as time went on, they found out, I found out through reading and do my little research, they had received $425,000 for that. Because you're not going to sit there and say that all these other boroughs, even certain counties, when they get their money for the district attorney's office, that you didn't fund, Staten Island. You didn't give them enough money to start a conviction investigative unit. You're not going to say that. Like, you can tell the people that, and it sounds good, especially the people out there, because as I stated, there's a bunch of judges, lawyers, and police officers. So they're going to be shaking their head when he says something like, yeah, that's true, but it's not. It's not.
So with that Grant Williams case, how long did it take for them to review the case and overturn it?
This case was, I think it was like 22 months. It's like about 22, they rounded off 23 months. They took, to even answer it. And that they answered his in July of 2021. So since then, they haven't done another case. And I know mine's, they had mine since 23, May 8th, because I have the paperwork where my lawyers had sent it in. It was around May 8th of 2023. And you just sitting on a case with all of this stacked against it, and you saying like you still reviewing the grand jury minutes?
Yeah. Grant Williams is right?
Yeah, that's Boo. They used to call him Boo back in the days.
Yeah, I think my uncle helped him come home.
Yeah, he was in Green Haven.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure London had his hands in that.
Yeah, but I know he had went through the Innocence Project also. I guess he helped him, get through the Innocence Project, whatever. I don't know, and I'm not gonna spread nothing false.
Have you reached out to London and let him know the situation that you're in?
Yeah, well, I had talked to him one time because he had called my nephew Ricker, and we was in a car together.
Major shout out to Ricker.
Definitely. And I had spoke to him then, and I think at that time he was in 5 Point. Because me and him was in Sing Sing together when I had started that bit off. We was in Sing Sing. And he's the one that really opened my eyes to the law when I started explaining certain things to him. And he was like, listen, because he worked the law library when I was in Sing Sing.
That's a fact.
So he was like, I'm going to get you in the law library. I gave him my name, my number. He got me pulled down. And from that point on, I would go down there every day. And one thing I can say about him, he down for his business when it comes to that law. And he ain't going to sugarcoat it. And he let me know, he said, listen, don't tell him if I'm going to stay here, you stay here, whatever the case. So take this book, read it. Read up on it.
What book was that he told you to read up on?
It was The Lawyer's Cooperative. It's a lawyer, he's a high-powered lawyer from out of Rochester, and he wrote that book, The Lawyer's Cooperative. I think it's like every year or every 2 years, he comes out with a more upgraded book.
Yeah.
So I had got that book, and if I'm not mistaken, it was like an older book, Lawyer's Cooperative, but it's all good. And he had gave me that because to this day, I still got the book.
The actual one that he gave you?
Yeah. It's called The Lawyer's Cooperative. I brought it home with me and everything because it was like, when certain people give you certain things, it's like it has like a value to it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I took that as like
a sentimental value to it.
Exactly. And that's how I took that. I was like, okay, this is coming with me. I rode with me for the whole thing.
I mean,
you understand what I'm saying?
You still have it today, so that speaks of its significance.
Exactly. And, my thing is like, why, I hear people, they speak about certain things, but they don't talk about Richmond County. They'll talk about Manhattan. Manhattan last year, or was like the beginning of this year, I don't want to call it wrong, because I know, this we about truth and facts.
Yeah,
but I know this one case that was just recently overturned in Manhattan. It was a Spanish brother. And what I'm getting at is that Manhattan said that they reviewed over 500 cases.
Meanwhile, in Staten Island, we've reviewed one. Yeah, I think that number alone should cause some type of internal investigation, because, like, what are y'all doing?
Right. You mean to tell me you only did 2 cases, right? You didn't even do 2. You got 1 in your office now, and you did 1. So you mean to tell me they don't need a federal probe?
Yeah, I agree.
They need a federal probe to go into their records and find out, like, why out of all the boroughs and the counties, you're not even reviewing cases.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you're not going to sit here and say you've been there since 2019, which makes you seem like you're the last of all the 5 boroughs to even have a conviction investigation unit. Because you have Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, the Bronx, all these other boroughs. They have some of them call it conviction review units. Staten Island calls theirs conviction investigating unit. Just like when you have the innocent project, then you have like the branches that's off to it, because I guess everybody can't go under that saying, yeah, innocent project. So you have like an innocent initiative,
just a bunch of different branches.
Right. It's like a tree, and you have branches that go out. It's called like bifurcating. So when you have these other things, some of these lawyers they don't have the juice like the innocent project, where they can get your stuff out to the media quick, and that's why they answer so many things so fast.
Yeah.
Because they have the resources. Especially again, like it was an incident where when I went to a lawyer's office since I've been home, and pretty much they was like, once they found out it was Richmond County, they backed up. Then a few times lawyers, you talk to them, and they'll be like, okay, where's this at? I said, well, it happened in Richmond County. Oh, well, we only do civil. It's like everybody's like kind of like frightened.
They start getting cold.
Yeah, because it's so conservative, and a lot of lawyers, some of them might live out there, and they don't want to rock the boat and keep it real. Which is like, how they say it, justice delayed, justice denied.
Yeah.
And that's what it's like. I even went and spoke to Yusuf Salam's mother about trying to help me. They don't do legal stuff, but they supposed to be like, somebody said they can get your stuff out there.
They have an influence in the media.
Right. And I'm still waiting for her phone call.
Yeah, well, we're going to get your stuff out there now. Do you think, can your evidence vindicate you, and are they facts or truth?
Everything I have is facts. The only way they wouldn't if they rubber stamp it. But if they follow the letter of the law and they see, once the person recanted and with all the evidence stacked against them, as far as the detectives wrote the statement, they initialed my Miranda warnings. The complainant is schizophrenic, self-mutilator, drug addict. All that alone should have put them in a thing. Be like, you know what? It wasn't even supposed to go past the precinct, pretty much.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then as I stated, how do you DNA, you saying you have DNA, but you hold it in your office for a whole year prior to you even sending it, I guess, to a lab or wherever they sent it, and then they said it's mine. Anybody that could be anybody. You just stated it was mine, and this was during a time when, like, they was in, us prisoners at that time. They was enforcing prisoners to give up their DNA, like blood or whatever the case may be, and they was pretty much saying like, well, docs. I don't know if the government was saying it, but I know docs, when I was upstate, was saying like, well, and if you don't give it to us, they're going to forcefully take it, which means they're going to assault you, cuff you, and take your blood.
Yeah.
You know, your uncle, I know he tell you what it is about how docs is, and then what's been going on like in Marcy, Mid-State, and a few of these other prisons, Attica, where they was really like killing people.
Yeah.
You know? So, with that being said, who's to say that they didn't take, the DNA and say, oh, this is his, or this is his? Because it's happened. Like I stated with the Grant Williams case, you said you had a baseball cap with DNA in it. Now you can't find the DNA or the cap.
Yeah. It's out of pocket. So let me ask you this. How has this false conviction of sexual misconduct affected you in your life?
It's affected me because, like, certain jobs I might go to, and even if I have the qualifications, once they do a background check, that nixes it. That automatically nixes it. My family and everybody, they all know I'm innocent, so I don't have a problem with that. But before I had got all the paperwork, some people, they look at that and, oh man, did he do it? Or is he telling the truth? He didn't do it. You understand what I'm saying? So that puts skepticism in people's heads. Yeah, skepticism in people's heads, like what's going on? Well, how did you get accused then? You know what I mean? And most people, they get brainwashed sometimes by the system. They be like, well, if you was accused of it, you did it.
Yeah. So do you think this conviction took a shot at your reputation?
Yes, it did. Yes,
do you feel like niggas in the streets started dealing with you differently after that?
To be honest, like, especially like on Staten Island, people will say things, but when you present, they won't say it, but you can feel it. Like Beanie Siegel said one time, the handshake ain't matching the smile.
Yeah.
You feel me? That handshake ain't matching the smile. But I'm getting it out to the people now, like, for all those who were saying it behind my back, whatever, with the paperwork, I have it all. Ask me. I'll show it to you. You understand what I'm saying? I got everything to show that the lies and the deception of Richmond County.
Yeah.
So it did. Like, me personally, like, I still move on with my life or whatever the case may be. But when that's like over your head, it's hard to get like certain type of employment, jobs. It's hard to, some people might be like, well, okay, you got paperwork, you didn't do it, but you go to their crib or whatever the case may be, and it's like, they don't want you around their kids or something. And it wasn't even the kids, it's an adult. That's what it was, an adult.
Yeah.
And I got daughters of my own, so that's one thing I always had prided myself in prior to the case. Like, I never had that on my record.
Yeah.
Even the lawyer at sentencing was telling them, how do you trying to get this man with the registration, and it's sexual misconduct. He doesn't even have a history, no background, no nothing. All is just robberies.
So do you have to register? Are you a sex offender because of this?
Yeah.
So what would getting this conviction overturned mean to you?
It would be like a form of parole. You understand what I'm saying now? It's like you made the parole board.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like I hear people say after the conviction, it gets overturned. Oh, I'm not angry. You know, as time went on, I let the anger go and moved on with my life. And just, I fought this to get here. Anybody with that over their head, there's some form of anger. Like, let's keep it real. The lawyer probably tell them, don't say you're angry, whatever, because it looks like, you want to be vindictive or whatever. How you going to be vindictive to the judicial system? You can't win that fight.
Yeah.
But you can be angry. You understand what I'm saying now?
Not at all.
What I look like trying to go after them? Like, I'm fighting like two brothers and a cousin. You can't win pretty much.
Yeah.
But you still feel it. Like, that whether it's a murder, a robbery, a burglary, and you get it overturned, you spent time in prison for that. You was accused of that. You was looked at now like people, may not even trust you no more. So, yeah, I'm angry. I'm not angry to the point.
You have every right to be angry. You know what I'm saying? If you're falsely convicted of something that you didn't do, and it's altered your life, you haven't been able to find, work that you're qualified for. You got people side-eyeing you and looking at you suspicious. You have to register as a sex offender, and you're not a sex offender. So my heart goes out to you. I feel for you.
Matter of fact, yesterday I was at parole. Now, like, they take, like, sex offenders, they take their picture. I think it's like every 90 days. You have to take a photo.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I had to take a photo. Was it a photo? No, I did the polygraph. That's something that you do for a sex offender. Like, why would you polygraph me?
And what are some of the questions that they're asking you when they polygraph you?
Well, I had told them that you can't ask me any legal questions. Like, the first time they did it, they was asking me, well, about the case. And I kept denying it. So when the polygraph came back, it came back like I lied or something, because I kept denying it.
Yeah.
And once it's focused into, okay, this is what you was locked up for. And I wasn't even for that parole I'm on now hasn't even nothing to even do with the case. It's just the way that the facility printed out my release papers. So now they got me going to that. So I did that yesterday. And that they asked, well, they couldn't ask me nothing yesterday because, like I told them yesterday, I said, listen, my case is in litigation now, and I can't answer it. My lawyer said, don't answer these questions.
Yeah.
But as far as the podcast or anything I speak on, I'm gonna let it be known. Listen, later for all that, don't answer this question, don't say this. This has to be stated. It has to be stated in the record, because if I'm falsely accused, I need somebody to hear it. I need somebody to even go down to my lawyer's office. Listen, if you don't have the resources to get it out there, we're going to help you now, because now it's out there. People always like to come on the aftermath. You understand what I'm saying? Like, once it's out there, you found somebody to get it out. It's like, once you get a lawsuit, you could be looking for a bunch of lawyers to help you out. They won't help you until the suit starts being activated. Now they want to come out the woodworks. Listen, we will help you represent. We'll participate with your lawyer and this and that, because now everybody want a piece of the pie.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a good lawyer. She's like, when it comes to like Staten Island, though, like, she's pretty much like passive aggressive.
Yeah.
You know, but she got over 45 years of being a lawyer. I looked up in the lawyer's diary. She's got like 45 years in a lawyer, and she's excellent. But she knows how Staten Island is, and she doesn't want to, you know, come at them and they just and they rubber stamp my case. Because pretty much that's how Staten Island is. If you get at them, they're gonna just rubber stamp it. I know that for a fact because when I was upstate.
And when you say rubber stamp, what do you mean by that?
They're just denied, just like bang, stamp. Okay, it's denied.
Yeah.
And under the conviction investigation unit, a lot of lawyers, well, the district attorney's offices know that it's like pretty much how you ought to put it. It's like the grand jury. That's their form.
Yeah.
So, and there's no appeal process for it. So you would have to try to come at them another way if they deny it.
Yeah.
Come with a 440 or find a loophole that's either a statutory or constitutional violation to come after them. And Staten Island knows that. So this is why they're milking my case. They're not doing any other cases. You know what I mean? Hopefully brothers from this here will start like putting in their paperwork, getting lawyers and putting in their paperwork to show that, you know, like, let's keep it fair.
Yeah, I agree. I hope everything works out for you, and I hope, you know, you coming on this podcast and us getting you out there, it benefits you in some way.
Right. Hopefully, like, with the paperwork that was sent to you, it gets out there, and when people read it, now they can, you know, you still gonna get the sideways looks because, you know, the case hasn't been actually overturned.
Yeah, just the nature of the case is uncomfortable.
Right, but now that the paperwork is out there, now, you know, now people can be like, oh, snap, he was innocent.
Yeah, now they could witness your innocence.
Right, and the same way, you know, like, when I was locked up, like, you know, sometimes, like, brothers be talking, and they say, like, why wait till it's done? Whether it's family members or your homie, whatever the case may be, whatever you know, identify with people outside of your family members. With this being said now and it's out there, we need to start, you know, we protest for everything, but the right thing. We need to protest, you know, in front of this district attorney's office on Richmond County and tell them, like, you know, enough is enough with these wrongful convictions. Because I'm quite sure, you know, especially us as Black and brown people, we know we have family members that have been falsely accused. You know, why not go in front of the district attorney office out there on Staten Island and march in front of them? You know, request for a federal probe. We need a federal probe out here because there's a bunch of people that I know that was locked up with me, whether they take a plea or they went to trial. Staten Island won't even file your notice of appeal. And that's something that is your lawyer, that's their last obligation to you. I looked that up and everything. If your lawyer don't file your notice of appeal, they drop the ball.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't, and they always say, well, I took a plea, this and that. My lawyer said I can't appeal it. You can't waive a constitutional right. So for them to not file your notice of appeal, that's a constitutional right. That's ineffective assistance of trial counsel.
Yeah, and I'm sure you probably opening a lot of eyes to things that people don't know.
Exactly, because one of the last cases that Sonia Sotomayor, you know who that is?
No.
She's a United States Supreme Court Justice. She's from out the Bronx. That's the Spanish lady. I don't know. I know she's of Latin descent. I don't know exactly if she's Dominican, Puerto Rican, or whatever the case may be, but I know she's of Latin descent. And she's for the people. You know what I mean? And she sits up there now in the United States Supreme Court, which is the highest, you know, court of the land. But she came from the Second Circuit, which covers things in the Eastern District. Everything that's considered under the Eastern District, that's where the Second Circuit it covers. Her last case prior, or one of the last cases, it was Compensano versus U.S. She made the actual decision on that case, and she stated in there that, it doesn't matter. You went to trial, you take a plea, or whatever the case may be, misdemeanor, felony. The last obligation of a lawyer is to file a notice of appeal. Period. You know what I'm saying? If they feel you have no meritorious issues, they file your appeal pursuant with an Andes brief, which is California versus Andes. That pretty much states that you have no issues, no meritorious issues, but we're going to file your appeal so the appellate court can look to see if you have any constitutional issues or statutory issues that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
As far as like that, like certain, I had, brothers get on the thing, they say they know the law. We all know the law, but do we understand the law? We can read something and be like, okay, I read that, I know that. But do you understand it? That's a different issue now.
Yeah.
So, the evidence that I have, hopefully, they look at it, review it, and stop playing with it, and give my just due, give my vindication.
Yeah, I agree.
Work with instead of working against the people, you want these votes, because you get voted in to be the district attorney. You want these votes, do the right thing. And in Grant Williams' case, Michael McMahon, he stated that, if cases is being brought forth for these wrongful convictions, he's going to, they're going to move expeditiously to right the wrong.
Yeah.
You haven't, as it stands right now, he's being mendacious. He's not righting the wrong.
Yeah, well, hopefully we could get the ball rolling and help you with that. Before we close out this interview, I wanted to ask you one last question.
Sure.
I wanted to ask you to give us some rodents from your era, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's speak on that real quick.
Yeah. Well, I know, this dude, I don't know his government, but they used to called him Nitty at the time.
Okay.
He's like up there my age, if not older. He got, matter of fact, he got a baby from this sister named Daisy, Puerto Rican chick. He's a rodent. He told on Mal Gibbs. You understand?
Oh, Scooty's Pops?
Yeah.
Scooty's Pops is a rat too.
Who? Mal Gibbs?
Yeah.
Word?
He told on some African niggas in Queens.
Wow. But they were saying that was the dude Nitty that did that.
Oh, the Africans in Queens?
Yeah, because he was messing with Gibbs at the time. Him and Gibbs was down together.
Yeah, Gibbs told.
Wow. That's in black and white?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I know Nitty had told on him.
His son is a rat too.
Yeah, I heard.
He told on Thomas Cintron. That's in black and white too.
Yeah, I don't know who Thomas Cintron is.
Yeah,
they probably a younger crowd.
Yeah, probably. Maybe he's in your age bracket. But from the interview when I did with him, he definitely sounded like a rat hunter. He said he's gonna catch Scooty and fuck him in the ass.
Damn, that's some gay shit. That's gay. That's like, even when I hear brothers tell other brothers, you know what I mean? This is I got one time me and your uncle was talking, and somebody we heard because sound travels 1,100 feet per second. Somebody told me, man, fuck you, there's something out there. And your uncle was like, wow, you should just punch him in the face. He must be a homosexual. You telling another man to suck your dick, that's some gay shit.
Yeah.
You understand? When dudes be saying, suck my dick, you telling a dude that, you gay. That's my opinion. That don't mean it's valid, but that's how I look at it. I'd rather just punch you in your face.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna tell you like suck my dick. I'll just punch you in the face. You know what I mean? If it's that bad, get off the fucking off the podcast and go handle your business.
Yeah, niggas just like running their mouth, man.
Yeah, then you had like other brothers too, like his brother Deshaun Lewis. He laid the booby in them, and I think that's his niece or somebody that just got arrested for stabbing up some old lady or something. He's a rat.
Who he told on?
Rat. Deshaun Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
He's a rat. He told on Mike Boone back in the days.
Boom.
You understand?
Boom.
Yeah, that's Blocker and them's uncle.
Yeah, I was about to say that. He got to be related to Peanut and them.
Yeah, you know, that's why when I heard, like, I've been listening to your podcast and everything, and I heard that, I was like, they should know better because what happened to their uncle. Yeah. You know what I mean? But everybody, like, you know, we can sit here and call, but we all got rats, and somebody that's a rat in our family. We may not be one, but we got somebody in our family that's a rat. You know what I mean? So, because, what you call it? What's his name? His real name is because he's named after his father. His mother, Scooty's mother, that's my cousin, Donna.
Yeah.
That's my cousin.
Scooty's name is Darren Lloyd.
Yeah.
The Lloyds have a lot of rats in their family.
Yeah, those are my cousins on through marriage.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate for you.
Yeah, is it right? So it's like, you know, but there's a bunch more. Like there was this one brother, he told somebody, matter of fact, he told me, he said, yo, you was talking shit about me. I said, how was I talking shit about you? You going around saying, I told on you. Like, yeah, you did. Yeah, but you know, you going around, you know, pretty much because I'm going around, like, if somebody asks me, because he's not running around like a tough guy, fronting, he ain't doing that. You know, he ain't no punk, but he's not running around doing it, you know.
He's staying in his lane as a rat.
Right, pretty much. And he told on me. You know what I mean? So, and he live out there and shit. They say he live in a Harvard now. So, being that he's not running around doing that, somebody asked me, they said, yo, I heard, you know, Elijah had told on you. You know what I mean? Yeah, he did. I don't see nothing wrong with that.
He wants you to not tell people, not speak on it pretty much. Ignore the fact that he's a rat.
Yeah, you told on me. You know what I mean? I went upstate with a 5 to 10 at that time and wound up doing close to 17 years because, you know, I was young then, vibrant. I'm running around the penitentiary, you know what I mean, putting in work. And I caught a new bid. I caught 2 new bids on that case. And I wound up doing like close to 17 years on the 5 to 10, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, yeah. Then you had the kid, he used to be in Stapleton. I don't know where he be at now. This kid named Wiz, Gary Hernandez.
Shorty Wiz?
Nah, he's a dude. He's not no female, because somebody was saying because they got a female out there named Wiz.
Yeah, but there's a dude out there named Shorty Wiz too.
Shorty, I don't know. I know Wiz. His name is Gary Hernandez.
Okay.
He told on me on the last bit I just did. You know, for a robbery.
Yeah, man, Staten Island full of rats.
And I'm on life parole because of that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He told on me. And it's crazy because back in the days, in the 80s, Hell Rel's uncle, you know, he told the police on me when I robbed the Ups truck.
Oh, man.
So, you know, when people start talking that, you know, when you throw those stones at my house, make sure yours ain't glass.
Yeah, facts.
You understand? Make sure yours ain't glass. But he's another one, like, he's cool. I see him. He be like, yo, what's up? What's happening? How you doing? But anything I can't tell the district attorney, I don't tell him.
Yeah. I agree, man. I agree.
Anything you can't tell a district attorney, don't say it if you know the person is a rat.
Yeah, I mean, anything you can't tell a district attorney, you shouldn't be telling none of these niggas, and we could end it with that, man.
Plus the murder game, like I heard dudes talking about, I laid this down, laid that down. Murder game ain't to be talked about. Ain't no statute of limitation on that.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Then you got niggas on the podcast coming up here solving crimes, talking about, such and such pushed this nigga out the window and killed him.
Yeah, I heard. That's another thing, like, what got me, because one day when I was going through, like, because my...
That's snitching right there.
Yeah, because I had pushed the thing up, right? And because somebody helped me set up my Instagram. So when I had set it up, I had seen, your logo. I said, let me see what this is about. And that, and I'm starting to hear about, you do a lot of things, especially with people on Staten Island. So I really started, and I started seeing certain shit, and I started hearing, and I heard when he said that, may he rest in peace, then pushed the dude out the window.
Yeah, facts.
Like you just told.
And he has allegations of telling on his name already, you know what I'm saying? So, if anything, that's a confirmation.
Right. Especially after you put somebody else out there and you tell it.
Yeah, that's a fact.
You understand? Like, but his brother, now Dan's brother, like, that's my age category. Because people were saying that Dan was wearing a wire, he was this, he was that. But I know his brother's official. May he rest in peace and shit. Curtis, he was official.
Yeah.
Like, I never heard of him telling. So it's a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, we could go on. We could go on
and
forever.
on and on and on forever. Like, especially like my generation, they like the Dales, they a big family. But they had a couple of rats in their family. Like people is naming certain people but they got family members that was rats too, from way back then.
Facts. But
nobody can never put that. Yeah, and nobody can put that on me.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
And nobody can put that on me. You know why? Because all my crimes pretty much, like, I got caught by myself. Even if I was with somebody and they got away, I got caught. I held that.
Yeah, likewise.
And I pride myself in that. I can look in the mirror every day, you know what I'm saying, and be like, at least I ain't telling no motherfucker, motherfucker behind my back or call me a sex offender, but in my face, they're not going to call it because I probably know something about them or somebody in their family, like, your fucking family, you's a rat, and I know it's hard to get away from family members that are rats because they're going to be in your circumference during family events, stuff like that, and nobody wants to ostracize them.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. Ostracize and destroy, eliminate all rats.
And that's it. And you know what? That's what made me, that would like really have made me be attracted to your station, because you was putting, and then it was like certain people that was being said out there that I didn't even know, pretty much because they was like a younger crowd or whatever. And then like I like your uncle, your uncle and like myself, we spent a lot of our life in prison
because of rodents.
Right. And due to that, like people that's been out there, like from the last 20 years ago, I couldn't answer that because I was locked down.
Yeah.
You understand? But, I can call out some rats that, like the kid Mike Z. I don't know if you heard of him. Mike Z, he's a rat. He told and this goes back to when my boy, he had a 4-8 for a gun charge because he was fucking with some chick. And Mike Z used to fuck with her. He kept coming around trying to disrupt the relationship. One thing led to another. He went and got his slammer, like, let's go. And Mike Z called the police on him.
Shit like that. Fucking
yeah, and these are the type of dudes that was around, like, the old time I heard him say on your thing, like he used to be around Uncle and all of them.
Uncles from Park Hill? Yeah, so we was talking about Mike Z, I believe, and you know,
Right.
these rodents. Let's get back into that.
Yeah, Mike Z, he was, you know, he was a known rat. You know what I mean? He told. So, and that's just what it is. Like, you know, some even in my family, I got some rodents. And like I stated, anything I can't tell a district attorney, I won't tell them.
That's a
Because, you know,
fact.
family will tell on you too.
That's a
You know?
fact.
People always think like, oh, that's family, this and that. Family will get you too, you know, just to save their own ass.
Yeah.
You know? And I just like most people that know me, like if you do like an investigation on me, they be like, yo, he wasn't really like a people person. He go do his thing, and that was it. Because I know how people are. I've seen people that I know and certain individuals they used to talk about, and they was like, yo, he told on me. And this is like my era growing up. So I always had that thing. And then an old timer told me one time, you know, in Brooklyn, he was like, listen, if you feel you can't trust him, don't do nothing around him. Don't do nothing with him. He said, don't be with a person and people are saying that he's a snitch. You know, back then they used to call them stool pigeons. Don't be with somebody that's a stool pigeon. And when something happens, now what you gonna do? You shouldn't have been with him. And that's I hear a couple of people on your cast, you know, they be, yeah, this, that, and the third, but you still hanging with him.
Yeah.
You still be with him. Dudes know the dude Wiz, because somebody had asked me one time, oh, I didn't know Wiz was a rat. I said, yeah, he told him. I said, yo, but you know, he ain't running around like, you know, hummer stunting and none of that, but it is what it is. But then they still hang around him. You still, you know, you disclosing pretty much. You know, when you hanging with the dude, you know what he is. So if you get caught, that's on them. Just like when I heard when they knew that a couple of people that was rats. I heard on one of your things, he was like, well, you know this dude's a rat and you still around him. Okay, well, if you get caught, you do something because the way they talking, like they still in the streets. Well, if you go to jail and he told on you, whose fault is it?
Yeah, that's a fact.
Don't run around saying, well, he ain't gonna tell on me because that's my man. You know, it's like an exception to a rule. But a voting, there is no exception. There is none. He gonna save his ass.
Yeah, that's a fact. At
He
any
gonna save his
cost.
ass. Like and you know, just to put the icing on the cake, you know, fuck how people feel. Like I heard the cast with you and the brothers from Connecticut talking, and they was like telling you the same thing I'm telling you. Fuck them people. That means you're doing a good job, bro.
Yeah, that's a fact. You talking about my man Randy and O.
Yeah, when they was telling you, know, fuck them people. So what they saying this, they saying that. You got your cast, you doing what you doing. The more people that's hating, that means you're doing something right.
Yeah, that's a fact. I agree.
You feel me? You doing something right. Fuck them motherfuckers. Tell them to eat shit and bark at the moon.
Yeah, that's a fact. And we could end it at that. I appreciate
All
your time.
right. Yeah, because
I
you got my
appreciate
love,
this
bro.
interview,
Real
man.
love.
Yeah, that's a fact. Likewise, you know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean?
We're gonna get your voice out there to the people, get your story out there, and you know what I'm saying, hopefully some justice comes from it.
Exactly. And I appreciate it. And I appreciate you.
Absolutely, good brother.
And if you want another one, you know, to keep it going about like, you know, the system, the judicial system, and the penitentiary, we'll set it up, do another one. Because I
Yeah.
got some stories to tell you about the penitentiary too.
Yeah, we
More
could
than just
definitely.
that what's that mid-state and Marcy incident. There's more to it.
Yeah, definitely. We could definitely circle back for a part two. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate your time in this interview, good brother.
Okay. You stay blessed.
Yes, sir. You too.
All right.